Good morning. Welcome to the HRC and welcome to the Interior Design Podcast.
It's all a bit exciting.
Live at the HRC. Yeah. Oh my God. So we've not done this live before. We've only ever been in a studio and been able to edit what we say. So this is good. This is all new, so you have to bear with us. So my name's Hayley, hayley.roy from Harp Design. Harp Design designed the stage here. Our stand's over there. And this is Cheryl.
Hi there, I'm Cheryl. I work for, I've got my own business, Rebels Design. Used to work with Hayley many years ago. And she came up with the idea of doing the Interior Design podcast, and I jumped at the chance. And here we are.
We're both interior designers. Cheryl's an architectural technician as well. And we've both been in the industry a long time. So we started up the Interior Design podcast because there's nothing really educational out there in terms of a podcast for interior design. And we wanted to educate designers and aspiring designers in the world. If you want to know a little bit more about us, there's an About Us episode of the podcast.
45 minutes of us just talking about ourselves.
No, it's 20 minutes. It's 20
Oh, is it?
I
Okay.
edited it. But yeah, no, it's a little bit too much giggling in that one. But I thought it was hilarious. I don't know about anyone else. We do have a little bit of a potty mouth, hence the censored thing. Not sure if we're going to be brave enough to use that today.
Early in the morning, isn't it?
But we thought we'd put a censored up there just in case there's any children in the audience that need to leave now. So, trends. First of all, we want to talk about what's out. So, there's a big sustainability push at the moment in trends, and fast furniture is absolutely out. Cheap, quickly made items that typically last between 1 and 5 years, poorly constructed that make it difficult to repair or refurbish, leading to most items being disposed of or thrown away. A low price point product is fast furniture, and it's being replaced with sustainable items,
I think
which we'll talk about a bit later.
the key point with that, with fast furniture being gone, is that people now hopefully are starting to recognise the importance of investing in furniture that has longevity to it. And obviously we'll touch on that a bit further in the discussions in terms of design, but stuff that's kind of got more of a kind of classic and timeless element to it. So it's not a case of just buying it and then, a couple of years down the line having to replace it. So
absolutely. Bling luxury. We were trying to define this last night over.
All we could
come
up with was just shiny.
Diamantes are definitely out. Over the top, glitzy, tacky, all of that. That's all out. We're fed up with that now. Instagram and Pinterest inspired design. Now I think we've got to be careful when we say this, because we both use Instagram and Pinterest as part of a design process, and a lot of people will, but actually copying and pasting a whole design is something that is very much out. So what we're aspiring to do is take elements of a photograph. So if you've got a photograph that you're using to design, take, say, for example, the flooring or the lighting out of a photograph and tailor it to you, rather than kind of going, oh, that's the look I want, there you go.
And trying to replicate it, yeah. I think in terms of using the platforms of Instagram and Pinterest is a really good platform as a starting point, whether you're a professional or whether you're just doing something at home. It enables people to kind of to get some idea of what they're trying to achieve, but moving away from just taking that and trying to copy it and trying to be a little bit more original with it. And again, we'll touch on the kind of personalisation side of it with in the later in the conversation. But yeah,
grey. I'm going to swear. Last night we were talking about this over a glass of wine, and Cheryl said to me, "Grey can fuck off."
Hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
I've got to be really careful here, because Harp Design is grey.
You said
right
this last night. You were like, shit.
I'm going to have to rebrand.
Branding.
Oh my God. You don't have
You're
to.
You're not saying don't use grey. Obviously, it's a neutral colour in it, and it can work really well. But I think we're all just so greyed out everyone's just taking it to the absolute extreme, and it's like, let's just get some colour. Let's inject some colour back in.
I mean, we've done it with the stage. We've injected the yellow into the grey, you know, and it is about if you have gone 50 shades like the fashion has been in your hotel or whatever. You know, it's not about like starting again. It's about adding the colour and adding the cushions or adding something in there that will create something that's going to look more on trend for today and the future. Yeah. It's a good base, but we're going much more browns, much more tonal, earthy colours going forward from here. 50 Shades is gone.
Yeah, grey is gone. Thank God.
One of the things that we talked about was in episode 1 of our podcast, we had a colour psychologist called Cheryl and Hayley on, and she was talking amazing. She was brilliant. Yeah. She was talking about keeping up with the Joneses, and this is one of the things with the grey era. It's all about kind of like, my neighbour has got a grey living room, I must have this, and grey has done that really, hasn't it? And it's sort of been really safe.
It's actually quite interesting. Well, when we spoke to Karen it was the first podcast that we did, wasn't it? Yeah. Psychology of Colour. Yeah. And just actually just understanding about what you should be considering when you're thinking about colours. And she had a really valid point, which was that most people just go and grab a colour swatch from, your local DIY store and say, what colour do I like and what colour do I not like and what am I drawn to and what am I not drawn to? But actually, there's so much more to consider as part of that. So what you want to try and create in a space, how you want it to feel, what that means to you, like what calm means to you might be completely the opposite of what calm means to me. And it's well worth a listen to that one. And she's got a book out as well, which is really cool. So.
Yeah, The Little Book of Colour.
Yeah.
Give her a plug. Yeah. She's so good. The next thing and the last thing that's out that we've wanted to talk about today is minimalism. So sterile environments devoid of personality are now
minimalism, I think, is
get rid of
key,
the sterile. We want personality, we want fun, we want maximalism, and...
You were saying yesterday as well, you were like, how on earth do people live with having a minimalist house in the world that we live in today? It's like we've got so much stuff. How does that work?
So what's in? We've talked about what's out, what's in. Now we're going to talk about Pantone colour of the year, which is Peach Fuzz, and Dulux colour of the year, Sweet Embrace. Now, we are inspired. I like the Dulux colour of the year and the Pantone colour of the year because I get inspired by it, and I see a lot of the fabric companies getting inspired by this. Cheryl has an opposing view.
Slightly different view on it. I was saying to you last night that I think, whilst it's great that we have this information and this data available to us in terms of what the colour of the year is, I don't know, maybe I'm just really difficult. If someone says this is the Pantone colour of the year, I'll deliberately choose not to use it because
that's why you're a rebel.
Because I want to try and. I said to you last night, I was like, I want to try and be thinking what the next colour of the year is going to be, so that it's kind of we're ahead of the trend rather than being in it.
But I think that leads us quite nicely onto the next which is it's all about you. Yeah. It's all about your business, your home. It's nothing to do with the colour of the year because that might not suit you. It might not suit your business. It's all about your business. And I think one of the things that I feel really passionate about is when you've got a hospitality business, it's really important to tap into that brand and tap into everything that brand is saying to your customer and to the end user. And, really consider the psychology behind that and what that means to the person in the space and what all the little touch points are going to do and how they're going to make somebody feel. So,
that can be applied to whether we're talking about commercial design or whether we're just talking about design for you personally. I think that's the thing. It's about trends are obviously, a one part of the design, that you consider, but at the same time, it's got to be something that you love and that and that you keep loving. whether that be statement pieces of furniture or whether it be colour or print or pattern. Like, I think
But
people are quite scared, aren't they, of...
One thing that I do see in a lot of hospitality businesses, though, is people doing what they love instead of what's right for the brand.
100%, and there is that difference.
That's a really important thing to make sure you consider if you're designing your own interior is don't do what you love. Do what's right for the business. Do what's right for that space. And also, I mean, I've painted... I don't like pink, and I've just painted my bedroom in pink because I know that that's going to calm me down. So it works at home as well. You might not like something, but if you know the psychology behind how that makes you feel, that's actually a really powerful thing, and that will create that personalised feel in the space. Sustainable construction design is massive at the moment. It's across the board in business. So, buy local. Make sure that you're being sustainable in the construction and the design. Don't use fast furniture. You use something that can be reupholstered in 10 years' time. It's actually a really, really good point for return on investment for a business as well, because if you're going to buy a whole load of furniture now, you want that, if you're in it for the long game, you want to be able to reuse that furniture in 5 years' time and reupholster it and reuse it. You don't want to buy rubbish product that's going to need to be put into landfill in 5 years. And 50% of everything that goes to landfill comes from the construction industry, which includes the floor that you rip out of your restaurant and out of your house. And if you can make sure that you invest at the beginning, that will make it sustainable. Make sure you're choosing cradle-to-cradle products that can be reused at the end of their life. Look after the planet.
I think it's just about moving away from this, the kind of throwaway society. We live in a world of very much about fast fashion, fast furniture, fast everything, and everything's so convenient. And obviously price, you have to consider budget, don't you, with these types of things. But I think if we can try and... It's just about resetting our brains as to how we think about this kind of stuff and being aware of it.
It's thinking about the long-term budget. It's like, actually, if you have to refurb in 5 years and chuck everything away, your budget doubles. Again. Yeah. So, if you spend a little bit more to start with, actually, the long game, it works out cheaper. So, I mean, we are very much in learned behaviour, though, aren't we? I mean, we are in this throwaway society, and we've got to change the vibe on that, because otherwise we're going to keep carrying on the path that we're on, and that's not what we want in society. Neutrals and biophilic design.
Biophilic has always been, I mean, for the last good 5-6 years, biophilic design has always been there in terms of a trend. This idea of connecting people with outdoor spaces and bringing it in, and I think it's so important. We spoke about this, didn't we, about mental health, and I think that's something that's just going to go from strength to strength. Biophilic design is not going, in my opinion, it's not going anywhere. It's going to get bigger.
Yeah.
It's
I think the whole emphasis on mental health isn't going away, and plants create oxygen. A lot of offices are choosing to have plants in their environment because they generate the oxygen, and then people are more productive as a byproduct of that.
So in terms of biophilic design, though, it's not just about using planting, like clever design in terms of planting, but also thinking about textures, natural products that you're using as floor finishes, wall treatments. I think it goes so much more. I think that's a lot from a design point of view. It goes so much deeper than just... People just assume that it's plants, but it's not. It kind of, it goes into all aspects.
It kind of goes alongside of sustainability, doesn't it? It's kind of that kind of, I'm being sustainable if I'm using plants. And, there's a company here that are doing dried plants, and that's way more sustainable than using plastic plants. Yeah. But and it's much less expensive than you'd think. Yeah. But then using real plants as well is cheaper than using fake plants, but you might have to water them a little bit more, and it's definitely here to stay, biophilic and neutrals. Statement pieces. So this goes alongside the sustainability again, creating something like a really gorgeous fireplace out of marble that's going to last forever. You know, that kind of statement piece is something that's really going to come into its own over the next few years. And yeah, just having long-lasting pieces.
Again, it goes back, I think, to kind of this. Again, we've spoken about kind of classic design and as you've said, things that last. And I think if you invest in something that you really love or that sits well with your brand, that you generally will hold on to it for longer. So
absolutely. Theatre kitchens and feature elements. Now, for a long time, a lot of people say to me, I need an Instagrammable wall. I must have an Instagrammable wall in my restaurant. I must have something where people are going to want to take a photograph when they come into my establishment. Actually, what we agree on, funny enough, what we agree on is that the whole property should be Instagrammable.
Yeah.
You know, you should, if you've got a business, it should be from every angle. When someone's taking a picture of themselves, everything should scream your brand, and everything should make you think that, you know, make you know that you are in that place. You know, and everything should tie in together, and it should all be a theatre and a drama. But yeah, theatre kitchens, we're doing an awful lot of tiling and interior design in the kitchen, so that the kitchen is
so you
part
want that
of the
visibility,
restaurant.
And people liked, as I think Katie, who was doing the technology discussion or talk yesterday on the stage, was talking about customer-generated content and putting that out online. And it's like people want to see, you know, they want to be seeing the things that they don't usually get to see, and things like a theatre kitchen is a perfect example of that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's drama. It's interesting, isn't it? It's just something, and it's also people can see how clean you are. You know, if you've got a 5-star rating and you're hiding your kitchen away, why
you should be
that?
showing it off. Absolutely, absolutely. Oh, we love this one.
Oh, do you know what? My husband went out with his friends in Scotland the other week when he was out on business, and he went to a pub that had a doggy roast dinner on the menu. Oh my God! Like how much business are you going to get if you've got a dog-friendly pub doing something really little like that? That's like an extra cost that someone's going to spend. You know, it's an extra spend per head. I would totally buy my dog a doggy roast dinner. But yeah, no, pet-friendly spaces are absolutely coming in. There's 13.5 million dogs in the UK, and 36% of households own a dog. So if you have a pet-friendly space, and from an interior design perspective, that looks like having a lot more faux leather on your seats and making sure that things are going to be tough. And when you're designing stuff, it's making sure you've got the Martindale rubs on your fabrics and things like that. And if you want to know more about all of that, we've got a really good fabric specification episode 4 with I Live. James, where is he? He's here somewhere. He's not here. Where is he? He's gone. He's gone walking around the show probably. But yeah, so we think that that pet-friendly spaces are going to really take off and become, you know, part of the other thing. The other thing with pet-friendly spaces is it creates a longer session. So I don't feel like
people generally stay longer because you're not worrying about getting home to sort the dog out.
Yeah. So the dog's there and sitting under your feet while you're there. You just keep spending.
Yeah.
Inclusive design. I designed that.
You did?
I did. Sorry for the people who are listening and who can't see, but I'll put it online.
Yeah.
That's a DDA bathroom for Arena Racing for one of their sites that we've redesigned the hotel. And I feel really passionate about inclusive design, and I work with a lot of companies that have got listed buildings that can't necessarily put, for example, a disabled toilet in. But I always encourage people to put a sink in. You know, even if you can't put a 1500 millimeter turning circle in a space, put some grab rails in there. You know, make sure that you've got the DDA nod. You know, it's not just about people in wheelchairs. It is about people with colostomy bags. It's about people who just can't get up from their seat. You know, elderly people.
That's the thing. I think it doesn't just. I mean, obviously we've got an image on the slide here in terms of a DDA bathroom, but we're talking about inclusive design across the board, and whether that be, you mentioned a second ago, Hayley, about furniture, just being aware of having a vision that you want to create, but not having, making sure that you mix up the types of furniture that you're putting into these spaces, because everyone's so different, and some people need extra support. They want different types of chairs because we're all so unique and so different, and why would you not include that?
Yeah, and it's about, inclusive design doesn't necessarily just mean about toilets, like Cheryl was saying, but someone asked me the other day, why have you designed our restaurant with so many different types of chairs? And my answer was, it's inclusive design. You have armchairs so that older people can get up out of them. You've got something at the bar, so if someone's got ADHD and they can't quite sit down, they can perch on a stool, and it's about having different fabrics so that anyone who's got any sensory issues and doesn't like this fabric can go and move to another chair. And it's so vast, the whole neurodiverse landscape, and that being inclusive is going to be so much more prominent going forward, and everyone's going to be so much more educated about it. And at schools, things like SEND and everything at school, special educational needs, when that generation of kids who are all being diagnosed with with autism and ADHD and everything else that we didn't know about 50 years ago, when they grow up, they're going to be very aware of what people need. There's kids in the classroom who've got certain things that little coping mechanisms in the class. And actually, that's going to really come into our society a lot more over the next 20 or 30 years.
Baby changing.
Baby change. Guys, if you haven't got a baby change in your men's toilets,
get with the programme. Yeah.
I've recently worked on quite a big site where there was an awful lot of toilets, and we've put DDA, we've had complaints that there is only baby change in the disabled toilets. There's no baby change in the men's and women's from the disabled community. So what we've done is we've put baby change in the disabled, but we've also put it in the men's and the women's. And that is so important. There are so many more. Men look after kids too, they need to be able to change their children, and it's not fair to exclude those people from certain venues. That's it.
Yeah.
Next. Technology. I think there's been a lot of talk about technology here, so we're not going to delve too deeply into this. But we do have something to say, don't we, Cheryl, about this?
Always.
Because technology is massive in terms of it's coming into our society. We need a certain amount of technology. Yeah. However, we need to disconnect as well.
And I think that there is definitely an argument for actually disconnecting from all of that to be able to reconnect with people, with yourself, with the space that you're in. So when we put this, we were talking about this and putting this podcast together, you mentioned obviously technology and integration into design, and I instantly went, well, that's me out, because I'm a massive technophobe and don't do anything.
She's come off Instagram. I tried to tell her something in Instagram. Yeah. I'm like, I love Facebook and all the social media platforms. I love it. But Cheryl is the complete opposite. She needs to. My sister's like this as well. You need to disconnect, and I think there's a market out 100% there for the disconnection, and even if you have if you were a business, have a disconnection night, or we could even design something into a table where you put your phone underneath the table so you don't have the phone on the table.
Well, access it.
Do you know what I mean? But that is,
leave it at the bar as you come in.
And I think that will be coming more. There'll be a small part of the market that will be a disconnect to reconnect. So you can sit and have a meal with your family without a phone on the table. There's restaurants, isn't there, that take your phone away from you and give you a 10% discount if you can have a meal without touching your phone for the whole meal. You get a 10% discount at the end of it.
Great. I love it.
Please go back on Instagram. Dark colours and accent lighting.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Starbucks have done this really cool thing with a light, really similar to this picture. across the back of their new stores, which is literally just a little wall built forward and an LED light strip. And it just looks awesome. Yeah. It's just creating that light, and it's really cheap to do. If you've got a lip of your property, a natural lip, like you've got a cladded wall with, and it, or you've got a dado rail or something like that. If you add a bit of light into it, it just creates this drama that is really beautiful. And dark colours are... I
mean, we've seen the dark colours kind of really coming to fruition over the last few years, haven't we? We've seen, a couple of years ago, we were starting to see the kind of blacks and the browns, kind of, only the brave were doing it to start with. You'd kind of see it popping up, and then literally it's everywhere. We were talking about this last night, Hayley, about how, it's quite interesting how you see some trends kind of coming, but then there's others, which we'll touch on a bit later, it might be on the next slide, where they just come completely out of the blue, and you're like, where did that come from? I I didn't see that one coming. But I think, darker colours is definitely on trend at the moment.
Definitely. Single colours. So single hue rooms where you have texture. So you create the drama with texture rather than with colour. Mm-hmm. So you choose a colour. This is grey. It's not going... Please don't go everywhere grey.
You picked that. You picked that image.
But it's beautiful, and it is on trend, isn't it? So, but it's about kind of creating that real single hue and not being afraid of having everything in one colour. Mm-hmm. This is my favourite quote of all time. It's been on my iPad for about 10 years. Luxury must remain invisible, but it must be felt. And this is so key in interior design, so key, because you might not think that spending a little bit more money on your paint or a really basic element of the room is to be important. But if you're going to create that feel of luxury, it's really, really important to really invest in that. And know where you are in the market. If you want to be luxury, you need to be spending that money on the product. But but it's all about the feeling. It's all about what, people aren't going to notice that you've painted your wall in an elephant's breath. They're not going to notice that, but they'll feel it. They'll be able to walk into a room and feel that something's really nice in here.
I think also if you're working, I think I mentioned yesterday, Hayley, about a small project that I was working on recently. A really, really small budget. So we're not, it was a small little cafe, and obviously, the world that we live in, we're working to tight budgets, and at the end of the day, we needed to do some value engineering. And the first thing that wanted to be swapped out from the client's perspective was the tiles on the bar front, the main point of the cafe. And I was like, why on earth would you value engineer that part? There's other ways of making cost savings that will enable you to still have that feel of luxury, which is kind of unseen by most people. But the key, I think that's the key, isn't it? It's picking the right things to try and value engineer, because you want to retain that feeling of luxury. So
absolutely,
just being clever with it.
Stripes are coming back. Big fat ones, not skinny ones. Big fat stripes.
Not grey.
Not grey. I'm going to have to rebrand, aren't I?
Yeah. So stripes are in.
Brown and black.
Mm-hmm.
Brown is about to have the most major moment. Fashion has already embraced it, and now we will see it in interiors, from lacquered walls to velvet drapery to heavy textured linen sofas. And that's from British Vogue. So bring back the brown.
Yeah.
And it is, I think it's come from sustainability, hasn't it? It's come from that sustainability shift.
It's just really earthy textures and tones, isn't it? So again, it crosses back into that biophilic design that we were talking about earlier. That kind of sense of being with nature to a point. And brown's beautiful. There's so many tones of brown. Do something really cool with that.
And also in this photograph, it shows another fashion that's coming, or is here to stay, is the gallery wall, which is
it's
really,
here to
really
stay.
popular.
It's been here for a long time, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's not going anywhere, and it's still here, and very, very well written about at the moment. Red. While pink might have been the colour of 2023 thanks to the interior design trends like barbacoa, 2024 seems set to be the year dominated by red. Cheryl doesn't like it.
You love red, don't you?
I love red. It's like, yeah, my cowboy boots are red. Yeah, no, I love red. And I think it's a come from China, I think. Because in Chinese, red is really lucky,
isn't it?
Really lucky, yeah. And yeah, I love the tones. There's so many tones. You're not feeling it, are you?
Yellow.
I'm very happy about this. With the stage in yellow. But Roman and Williams used yellow hues when designing the buzzy new Cotswolds Hotel, and yellow is coming back. Yellow and blue is quite fashionable again. Not as bright as it was in the 90s, but a little bit more subdued. But yeah, yellow is absolutely back. We love yellow. But to finish up, the most important thing that we've said today is about personalisation. It is all about creating longevity with your interior and actually speaking to you with that, with your brand, with the way you feel about your house, with about making it all about you and all about your clients and your customers if you're designing a space that's for hospitality. And it's all about you. He's going to play the song in a minute. Thank you very much.
It's all about you. It's all about you, baby. It's all about you. It's all about you. Yesterday you asked me something I thought you knew. So I told you with a smile, it's all about you. Then you whispered in my ear and you told me to. Said you make my life worthwhile, it's all about you. And I would answer all your wishes if you asked me to. But if you deny me one of your kisses, don't know what I do. So hold me close and say 3 words like you used to do. Dancing on the kitchen tiles, it's all about you, yeah.
What did you do?
I swear it wasn't me.
And I would answer all your wishes if you asked me to. But if you deny me one of your kisses, don't know what I do. So hold me close and say 3 words like you used to do. Dancing on the kitchen tiles, yes, you made my life worthwhile. So I told you with a smile, it's all about